The figure chuckled, a dry, rasping sound that seemed to slither into Bob's mind. "We are the keepers of the gate, and you, Bob, have stumbled into something far beyond your comprehension." The figure stepped forward, and Bob finally saw their face. It was a face he recognized, a face that had haunted his nightmares for years. It was Maria, but her eyes were different, cold and black, like the nightstone, devoid of all warmth and humanity. She no longer hummed, she chanted. "Maria," he whispered, his voice choked with disbelief and horror. "Maria is gone," she replied, her voice distorted, layered with something else, something ancient and malevolent. "Only I remain." She raised her hand, and the nightstone in Bob's pocket flew out, drawn to her like a magnet. It hovered in the air between them, pulsing with an eerie light. Then, with a flick of her wrist, it shot towards Bob, embedding itself in his chest. Pain, sharp and cold, exploded through him. He gasped, stumbling back. Maria, or the entity possessing her, smiled, a chilling, predatory expression. Time to finish the ritual. The chamber began to shake, the symbols on the walls glowing with an eerie light. The air grew colder, and a dark, swirling vortex began to form above the altar, just like in the illustration. Bob, weakened and in agony, could only watch in horror as the true purpose of the nightstone and the fate that awaited him was finally revealed. He was not the hunter. He was the prey. He was not there to solve the mystery, but to become a part of it. He screamed, a raw, primal sound of terror as the vortex expanded, its pull becoming irresistible. He was the sacrifice, the key to unleashing something ancient and monstrous upon the world. The chant intensified, a chorus of inhuman voices, now joining Maria's. Suddenly, a melody cut through the chaotic chanting. It was a simple tune, familiar and comforting. It was Maria's lullaby, the one she always hummed. It was faint, weak, but growing in strength. Inside the monstrous entity, a flicker of resistance sparked. The chanting faltered. The vortex wavered. From the shadows, a figure emerged. It was Old Man Hemlock, his eyes glowing with an ethereal light, a spectral harmonica to his lips. The melody flowed from the instrument, weaving a protective shield around Bob, pushing back against the vortex's pull. "The heart remembers," Hemlock whispered, his voice echoing with ancient power. "Even when the mind forgets," the entity shrieked, its grip on Maria's form weakening. The lullaby continued, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. Bob, feeling a surge of strength, ripped the nightstone from his chest, the pain searing, but insignificant compared to the alternative. He hurled it at the vortex, a desperate gamble. The stone struck the swirling mass and exploded in a blinding flash of light. The chanting ceased. The vortex collapsed, vanishing as quickly as it had appeared. Maria fell to her knees, her eyes clearing, the darkness receding. "Bob," she whispered, her voice weak but her own. Then the twist. Hemlock chuckled, the ethereal glow around him intensifying. "Foolish boy," he said, his voice now deep and resonant, filled with the same ancient power that had possessed Maria. "Did you really think the lullaby was enough? I merely needed the gateway closed and the host weakened." Hemlock's form began to shift, growing larger, darker, more monstrous. He was the true keeper, the one pulling the strings all along. Maria had been a pawn, and Bob the unwitting key to his escape. The chamber, once a prison, was now his gateway to freedom. He had been playing them all. A monstrous smile stretched across his face as he started to step into the real world. Bob and Maria could only look on with terror.